Hello everyone, this is Agent0992 and today we're back for the brand new video. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a bit of a snooze fest to actually break down, you know what I mean? We're here to reflect on a game of football that was cool, calm, stress-free and not a lot to actually talking about sandwiched in between. The Benfica double header is what we're actually discussing. Today is Hibs 0, Rangers 2, and a match that featured 2 red cards. 2 good goals. That's right, I said good goals. Didn't at me at that one. And a game that featured 2 no injuries. I mean, of course it did. Like, honestly, troops, I just wish I could sit here, look you in the eyes and say, what a great win, great clean sheet, and it was finally great to get to an end of a game without any fresh injuries. That's all I want. That's what I want to be able to bring to you guys and share it like Prometheus with the flame to civilization. That's what I want to give you, but I can, as it's just never, ever easy. And this one feels a wee bit self-inflicted, and trust me, we will go ahead and get into that, ladies and gentlemen, as the substitute who got substituted on for an injury ended up getting injured, and truly that's the most Rangers thing of all time. But there is so much to talk about. Obviously, we're having a wee bit of fun with the intro. This was about as panic-inducing, must-watch, madness-enticing game that you're actually going to be able to see. I know everybody was in love with like the blockbuster games, if you will, the Liverpool, Man Cities, whatever. Didn't care about that. The real action was at Easter Road and a game of football that was genuinely mental, and I have no idea how long this video is going to be. And as there is so much to discuss, let's just go ahead and get into it then, shall we? By the way, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, and also happy birthday to Jack Butland, ladies and gentlemen, who well and truly was given a gift of sorts by not conceding a goal that Ramsdale did. The man's trying to get in the England squad. I get he's trying to replicate what the England keepers actually are, but we didn't need a repeat, Jackie Butland. Let's clean that back up and get your distribution back to where it actually was, as again the gift he was given was massive for his football club. But we're not starting off by talking about Jack Butland. Now, there's a couple names on the actual noggin that we need to talk about, as we started the exact same 11 that started in Europe, and it had a lot of the same issues that we ended up having in Europe, looking a bit leggy, looking a bit tired, but some people rose their game and raised themselves from the ashes, as one man especially stood tall, who went ahead and won man of the match by the name of John Lundstraum, who looked dead and buried and looked like he was towing a caravan in his last game, and somehow he built his way up with maturity and just a timing that was absolutely on point today, not only with his goal that he scored, but the way he dictated the game, never got involved in all the nonsense, even when somebody tried pretty much a leg breaker on him. And trust me, we're going to get to that embarrassing foul later on in the actual video, but then he times it, gets up, bees mature, runs the midfield, keeps it ticking, and ends the game with an assist as well that well and truly won and wrapped this mad mental game up. His name's John Lundstrom. Sometimes he's very good in the Europa League, and for me he is a vital cog in this Rangers machine, and one of the main reasons we have came away from what was an absolute fight and scrap at Easter Road with a comfortable 2-0 win. I mean, when we predicted a 2-0 win in yesterday's prediction video, when we started discussing it, I didn't expect this type of game. I expected a professional performance, but I expected a lot more changes than we actually got. But Clement went well. If you can go and do it versus Benfica, go and do it on Hibs on this Sunday and get us through to a semi-final. And the players delivered with a very mature performance, despite playing against what I would consider very immature, daft wee laddies at the other end of the actual part. And if you watch the video long enough, you know exactly why I'm saying that, as we're going to break down every incident. But let's go ahead and dive into the game. I've gave the flowers to the man who deserves them, in my personal opinion. The best player on the park today was none other than John Lundstrom. But let's get to the start of the game then, as I don't think either side really started well, in my personal opinion. I mean, Hibs again started as we expected, a bit more committing men forward. It's no the Hibs of old under previous managers where they're sitting back playing part the bus football. Porteris is running about doing mad things. No, it's a bit more brave Hibs side. There is some talented attacking players when they actually want to play football, and they're not sitting about diving trying to get into Olympic squads. They did try and press forward, and I thought we looked a bit leggy and a bit jaded to start this game, if I'm honest. And I was like, this Disney fill me with confidence. And I think when you see someone that's been near as perfect can be in terms of Jack Butland doing what he done that we've already mentioned in today's video, it does make you a little bit nervous, you know what I mean? I could have picked up a 50 pence piece with the arse cheeks, troops, when I saw Jack Butland go ahead and do that, but we got away with it. They ended up hitting the post. We had a dangerous in-swinging corner. In-swinging corners are back, that's right, this is the set piece, coach. What are we going to do? Out-swingers or in-swingers? In-swingers today, and it looked a lot more dangerous if any of our centre-backs could actually header the ball towards the opposition net instead of their own net. We could be in for a winner, but it was good to see the in-swinging corners back, at least in about 15 minutes in. That was the only real positivity that we had on the actual park, in my personal opinion. The Butland scare then happened, and it seemed to spark this Rangers team into life, and it was no surprise to me that the likes of Dujon Sterling, the mustard man himself, was heavily involved as he sprints right into the box. The Hibs player's right behind him, connects with this leg, kicks into that leg. It's a clear trip. The referee, as everyone on this planet can see, it's a penalty kick besides a very, very, very bitter pundit. Now, I try not to reflect on this or talk about these people or tweet about these people, because I've seen, I'll be honest, right, because of the opportunities you guys have given me now with this channel, I've been around things like this. I've been around production companies. I've peeked behind the curtain and I see the nonsense that's handy. Can you say this? Because it'll be controversial. Can you say this? Right, I've seen what actually happens now. You know what I mean? I've seen the Wizard of Oz, if you know what I mean. So I get when there is fish stuff and bait stuff that's flung out there because they're begging for interactions, because that's where the money is these days. But there's a level to maybe trolling and baiting fans and then just coming across as a very, very bitter individual. And honestly, the commentary that I heard today is a detriment to our game. Again, it's no baiting, it's no clickbait, it's just absolute guff. And I think if you're watching it as a neutral, or you're a new fan from down south starting to watch, or if you're starting to get here, if you're trying to pay attention, you'd have been put off with that crap, and there's just no need for it. I know it's a interactions game and this and this and this, I understand that world, but that took it to our next level as we had a commentator that spent 4 minutes talking about a foul that was definitely a free kick, where, by the way, there was no contact, and the definite free kick that there was zero contact in being was possibly a penalty. It wasn't in the box. We spent 4 minutes talking about that, and then when a clear and obvious penalty kick, the boy is running. Let me show you my water bottles. Sponsorship, if you didn't mind. He trips his leg, and then it kicks it into the other one. That's why he falls down. It's no hard. If you're no bitter and if you're no filled with hatred, you can see it's clearly a penalty kick. And aye, the VAR didn't intervene, they didn't look, didn't ask for a review on the park. Do you know why? Because it's a clear and obvious penalty, as you're going to be seeing. There was no shock in that. The only shock that actually happened in the game of football was that ambulance sound that was coming for the stands, ladies and gentlemen, as up steps Tavernier, whose penalty is actually saved, but thankfully it is bundled into the back of net by John frickin' Lundstraum. And I respect that for Tavernier, you know what I mean? He saw Lundstraum's performance midweek, he's seen it dip down, he needed a boost. So Tavernier playing the next 4D chess, hitting it off Marshall, allowing Lundstraum to just run in and just trot the ball into the back of net is next level management, as the man gets an assist and Lunny gets a goal that boosted him back to the man he can be. Now, in all seriousness, it's a great save by David Marshall, but when you see how far he is off his line, I had a flashback to a check forward shooting for his own half. That's how far he was. So I think if Lunny isn't banging that into the back of net, there's probably a retake of that penalty, but the penalty wasn't retaken because we had scored the actual goal, and that's 1-0 to Rangers. And truthfully, it was a goal that was badly needed to just spark some quality into what was a stagnant game. And after Rangers played a wonderful ball out to Sterling, who hit a volley that was well saved by David Marshall, you're expecting the game to really continue at that level, but then there's dives, there's clear dives for Martin Boyle on the edge, and what really just embarrasses me and underlines my frustration with this, right? And I'm not going to keep going on to it, but when a guy is sitting in commentary and watches a player dive and say that's very similar to the incident that Rangers got, a penalty, there's zero contact with Boyle, there's contact with Sterling. What we actually doing here, what is being the product, and this is the best for Scottish football, is this selling Scottish football? No, so that needs to be done there, man. It's just genuinely embarrassing. But where I've mentioned Boyle diving twice, because he did dive in the 30th minute, I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it. What happens a couple minutes later later, ladies and gentlemen, is something you never want to see in football. As up goes Martin Boyle, he collides with John Stewart. There's no foul, there's no malice, it's no dangerous for either one of them. It's just two players going up and winning the ball. And I think Boyle goes down, hits his head off the ground, Stewart falls on top of him, and Boyle was down for a good 6-7 minutes, and it doesn't look good. So where I usually have a bit of fun on the channel, and I like to have a wee bit banter and digs here or there, you never want to see that happen in a football part. As much banter as we have there, that looked a bit as serious comes. So I've mentioned he did die twice in the game of football, but that has no consequence and nothing to do with this incident here. It's serious, doesn't look good, and I really hope Martin Boyle is actually alright and gets back to playing football, because he had a neck brace and that on, so hopefully it's nothing too serious, as you just didn't want to see that in football, no matter what colour his shirt you're wearing. During this passage of play and everything like that, Dujon Sterling, the man who started the game, so brilliantly ended up pulling up with what looks to appear to be a hamstring injury, and this one just feels sair on the ticker to the next level, and actually gives me a wee bit of flashback to those who watch the channel and have done for the last couple of years will know probably where I'm going to go with this, because you're looking at a player on the Thursday icing his hamstring, starting a game 3 days later and gone off early in the game. Did anyone flash back to Morelos for a few seasons ago? Now, hopefully it's not anywhere near as serious as what happened to Alfredo Morelos, but it doesn't look good, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm crossing everything I possibly can that we're going to get good news and hope it's just a precautionary substitution for Sterling. But he was icing it on Thursday, he got took off early because of that. We've rolled the dice, and as usual, ladies and gentlemen, this football club lose that roll, as the only luck we've got is absolutely no luck when it comes to injuries. But with that injury stoppage, and then obviously the serious Martin Boyle injury, the game did have a long period where it was stopped and waiting, and I think that's why there was so much time, well, it was why there was so much time added on. But once football resumed and the substitutions and that were made, it was mostly Diamandi who had a couple nice wee moments. He had a long shot that was tipped over the bar brilliantly by David Marshall. He then has another shot just shy of half time where he drills it, and Big Dessers just dummies it. Now, there is a very, very fine line between genius and insanity. Very, very thin, and it's been shown that from the history of this world, troops. And Dessers constantly dances on that line. He's dummying it, and if the dummy comes off and that shot for Diamandi's gone into the back of net, we're sitting saying Dessers playing 4D chess. But because it doesn't go in, because the shot does go wide, you're sitting wondering why your centre forward, who's actually broke the offside trap for once in a game for Rangers, has left that no hit a fit or flung a fit at it to score a goal. And that's where I was at half time. By the time the full time whistle went, I'm sitting saying, how is it no more? How we not added to this lead? And the Dessers experiences are full up, because we've only mentioned one incident, because there was a moment, and I wanted to save it to this exact moment right here, round about the 20th minute, where he does brilliant. This is what I'm talking about. He goes up, battles the big defender, wins the ball, charges into the box, opens the body up. I'm saying, he's doing it. I'm like Anakin when he lights up the bloody pod race, troops. He's doing it. It's working. And then he cuts back onto his weak foot, ruining his angle, and just blasts it at David Marshall. Dessers, you're right-footed, son. Stop cutting onto your left. You're an absolute maverick, and it's killing me. Do you know what I mean? I've never seen a centre-forward like Dessers, because there's football players, and especially strikers, can go from the sublime to awful, depending on how they're playing, the purple patches in form, some bad patches. It happens in football, but Dessers is the first football player I've ever seen, ladies and gentlemen, it goes from the sublime to the awful within seconds in the same game. You never know what he's going to do. He's trying Davy Cooper chips up one time, he's doing nutmegs the next minute, he's falling over, he's cutting instead of just shooting and curling it in to the back of net, he's cutting back, sending the defender to Spain, then hitting it with his weak foot. I just didn't get him. There's never been anything like him, and it's weird that I like it. You know what I mean? That's what's mad about it. Do you know, like how you watch shows, you watch TV, you watch The Last Stage, why does she keep going back to him? He keeps treating her like crap. That's Dessers to me. I weirdly like the laddie and I keep backing him, but he's driving me absolutely mental. Just hit it with your strong foot. But the Dessers experience to one side. Let's kick in to the second half as no changes were actually made, which was a real surprise as well, because I thought defensively we weren't that great in the first half, and again, attacking wise it was sort of breaking down. Ross came into the game, I think it was too physical for him as he couldn't really impact the game that he wanted to do, or what close to what Sterling did, but they're completely different players, and I think just this game, the physicality fit more for Sterling, if you catch my drift. So the start of the second half goes, and it was really Hibs that was on the ascendancy as they had 3 corners in the opening 3 minutes of the restart, where twice Lundstraum had to do big blocks. One of them he sort of headers it, clears it off the line, if you will, as it looks like it's gone on target. But I think if he doesn't get it, I think big Butland is actually going to throw a hand at it, if I'm honest. But again, it was still claimed as off the line, so I'll give him that one. And then Jack Butland had to make a very smart save as the corner taker tries to catch Butland out with hitting it towards the back post, an area that Benfica tried to attack in his game, but Butland there was assured. And then I have to give credit to a man I've not given much credit to over the last couple of weeks, and that's John Souttar, because everyone's forgot about this, but honestly, follow me, Alice, as we go down this rabbit hole. 53rd minute, Diamande is blowing troops. He looks like Lunny did versus Benfica. He can't make passes, he can't move in the middle of the park. The lads just ran his race, and he loses the ball twice in the middle of the park. They spring a counter attack. It is a 3-on-1, but big John Souttar times his run right, comes with a major interception. Now obviously if I was a Hibs fan, I'd be saying it's dreadful for the attacking team not to beat the last man, but again, I'm a Rangers fan. I'm seeing a Rangers defender do that, so I'll give him credit where credit's due, and that actually sparks a counter attack where Fabio Silva goes very close with a cross to the back post. That again, if we've got a bit more attack minded players on the park, or more experienced players, they're probably getting into and smashing it in to the back of net. But that was big for John Souttar, and I didn't mind giving him credit. But in terms of clear-cut chances, there was very little for Rangers. There was a long shot for Tavernier that was well saved by David Marshall, but it wasn't exactly a great chance or a great bit of build-up. It's just Tavernier's individual brilliance that he can have on occasion, especially when striking a ball. The game really started to evolve into Hibs diving, and you know, you've seen the Cantwell stuff, and he's been targeted by pundits, he's been targeted by people online, and then you've got the Kyogo stuff who's dived and he's been targeted by pundits, well, not many, but targeted by people online. But what I want to talk about the new is El Milano. I think that's his name, if you want to go ahead and call him that. Sometimes they were calling him the second name, sometimes he was calling him the first name, but you know who I'm talking about, the guy with the ponytail who just dived every single time he touched it. And what's frustrating is he's another player that's got actual talent, but if I look you in the eyes right now and say he dived 5 times, not one of you would blink, because you all saw it in the game. And after what I witnessed for Benfica, especially Di Maria, who dived 3 or 4 occasions without getting booked, and then I'm watching number 20 El Milano for Hibs dive about the park that way. Honestly, what is the rule in football anymore? Do you get booked for diving or dinna? Because I'm seeing guys dive and dive and dive. El Milano had a free kick about the 54th minute that was actually well saved by Jack Butland, the best bit of goalkeeping Butland had to do all day. It's a great free kick, but let's take a few steps back. How does he get it? He dives. Goulton's no touched him by a mile, and he's shouting him, and then a couple of minutes later there's a long ball, he runs in behind, big Goulton uses his strength, it goes to Butland, and the boy literally, he goes like this, troops, he goes like this, and he dives like your dolphin diving in the old Black Ops 2, and then Goulton picks him up, and then he goes like that, and he flops down. Yellow card, yellow card, yellow card. I mean, this game's going to be dominated because of the red cards that was given by Hibs. Squeaky chair time, and I get that, but that boy, it was an absolute embarrassment to Scottish football, and he could have been sent off 3 or 4 times for just dives alone. And aye, there's just no time for it. I called out Cantwell when he dived earlier on in the season, and I have to call it this absolute crap, because that's 4 or 5. Cantwell done it once in a game and was crucified for it. This guy's doing it 4 or 5 times. I get he's no a big team, or he's playing for a big team, or he's a big name player like that, but can we start just reflecting the game's fail and calling it as we see it? Because we've got guys on commentary calling this made up nonsense, but no one's willing just to put their balls on the line and say that there is cheating, and it's just Embarrassing. And what else is embarrassing? As Ross McCausland, a 20-year-old laddie who is injured and who is on his way of making it off the park with a physio helping him off, you've got this idiot for Hibs coming and pushing not only the physio, who's a staff member by the way, but a 20-year-old laddie who's injured off the park. Is that cool? Is that solid? Is he trying to act tough picking on a wee 20-year-old who's injured and an old staff member? What an absolute clown of a boy who was already on a yellow card, by the way, who already gave away the penalty kick. Maybe he was trying to show off and look really, really solid, but it's embarrassing for him, shoving a staff member, shoving a player, but the referee lets it go. He starts to feel good about himself, and it's no surprise to me that just a couple minutes later, the guy's head is completely gone, and the man is then sent. I think it's maybe quote-unquote soft, but if you look at what's happened in the game prior, sliding, actually injuring Ross McCausland, the guy should have been sent off earlier and given a second yellow earlier. So I think he's looked at that, seen the laddie go down, and Rabbi Matondo says, well, I should have sent him off already. So here we go. That's the referee trying to make up for his own incompetencies and his own mistakes. Again, Kamal Roof, who had just came on the park, then gets booked for making zero contact to the Hibs forward. You heard me, ladies and gentlemen. McLean is McLean, and he's trying to make up for his mistakes by sending off the guy who should have already been sent off prior in the game. And then he books Kamal Roof for making zero contact, who's been on the park less than 12 seconds. You could say he's trying to calm the game down. He's trying to do that. That is crap. He's allowed the game to bubble out of control. So I'm not wanting to hear the excuses for the laddie. This is the incompetence that I keep talking about every single week. And look what happens. Look at the challenge that happens on John Lundstraum, because this game's been allowed to get to this level. This challenge right here is simply a disgrace, and again the commentary is trying to make reasoning for that's no a red card. He's lunging 2-footed off the ground at pace, trying to hurt the player. I'll call it who I don't care. I've not got to hold myself to anybody. He's trying to hurt John Lundstraum there, and he gets sent off correctly. Yet we've got to hear hate-filled bitterness, drivel for the commentary trying to explain why that isn't a red card. It's the clearest red card you will ever see. Of course he's sent off, and the guys at VAR that dared to have a look at that and stop the game should be ashamed of themselves. That makes genuine contact with Lunny. If Lunny isn't just able to get himself away, that's a leg breaker right there, and it shouldn't take your leg being broken for a guy to be sent off. So lunging 2-footed is a red card. I suggest everyone who's associated with the game maybe goes ahead and learns the rules if you're going to get paid to actually talk about it. But ladies and gentlemen, if you're paying attention, that's 2 red cards in the space of 3 minutes, and both red cards were eventually deserved in my opinion. Jordan Obita again makes contact with Rabbi. You could argue, is it worth a second yellow to send him off? But when you combine his 3 other challenges, the fact that he gave the penalty away, the fact that he's shoving staff members and shoving injured players off the park, you could probably argue, when you add those 5 incidences together, to throw your arm at a player deserves a second yellow. And again, that challenge right there is simply disgusting, but it's a challenge that's happened all season long, and these weak, limp referees that's allowed Raskin, Sterling, Ross McCausland, Todd Cantwell, Tom Lawrence, Rabbi Matondo to be kicked off the park all season and receive lengthy injuries for things they've not even considered to be fouls during the games. They've allowed it to get to the level where it seems to be a free shot every single game, and they've got no control of it. That's a shambles, and John Lundstraum is very lucky, and we are very lucky that he's not out for a long time. But where I want to turn my attention from the disappointment and the embarrassment of the officiating and the small guy mentality of a couple of these Hibernian players, I want to give credit to the Rangers team, because it could have been so damn easy to lose their heads, start getting involved in nonsense, and lower their standards and lower their class to the level that the certain individuals for Hibernian played it. They really could have, and we've seen it in a Rangers team throwing points away, getting involved, start evening up in terms of red cards, start leaving the bitten. But it was so damn professional, and it was so damn mature for the Rangers side to say, right, let's get on with it, let's play our way, let's keep continuing to make chances, and that's why we went ahead and won the game. Shout out Goulton, by the way, does a brilliant bit of defending in the 78th minute, but that was it in terms of defending that we needed today. We rightly dictated the tempo of the game, and it was a moment of genuine quality for Fabio Silva that wrapped this game up. The ball goes to Lundstraum. Lundstraum picks the pass. Silva on the left hand side, which is something we've talked about a lot in the channel. That's his position on that wing, being able to cut inside and be dangerous and have a shot. He's not out and and out number 9 for me. He never has been. That's where he's actually dangerous. And you see just the level of quality. The touch, the timing, the finish. It's brilliant for Silva. And so much damn respect needs to go to this Rangers team for no losing their head and devolving themselves and just embarrassing themselves the way the Hibernian side did. As Rangers go ahead and come away with a much, much needed win. And a very professional display, in my personal opinion. I know the ball was in the back of net in the 93rd minute as Tavernier's free kick is blocked, then his volley's blocked by Silva, and then young Cole McKinnon puts the ball into the back of net, but it's quite clearly offside. Nothing to talk about there, there's nothing to really break down. But that was it for the game, in my opinion, and I want to give so much respect again. It wasn't the greatest display, I think it was still a bit leggy on occasions, but the boys, the mentality of the Rangers team is actually starting to play like a Rangers team now, and that was very well disciplined for a game that had very little discipline on the other side, in my personal opinion. And again, you keep your standards up here, we'll stand out and outshine everybody in this league. And that's what we're doing now, ladies and gentlemen, as we've now won our way into a semi-final. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on the game. I thought Fabio Silva was great. I thought young Ridvan was very good again. I thought Diamande in the first half was very good, but he looked very, very tired and very jaded as the game went on. But my standout for the overall game, in my personal opinion, was the man in the middle who struggled on Thursday, but stepped up and provided coolness when we needed it and took leadership of this game. And that was John Lundstraum. What about you? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down there in the old comment section below. And as always, I've been CJ092. Thank you so much for watching. All the best and bye-bye.